Are you ready? Let's go. Ready?
Ready.
Yeah, ready when you are.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Holden Shepherd, Heidi Anderson, Jan Latta, Alison Patterson, welcome to my little show.
Why do you call it a little chat show?
Jan Nichols, Sam Eichen, Annabelle Smith, Donna Mazza, Rebecca Watson, Jonelle Fraser, Tracy Jacobson, Adam Wallace, Monique Mulligan, Matt Glover, Karen Young. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Welcome to my show. Hey, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Josh Langley Gets to Know. Now, before we meet our amazing guest, okay, I've got his book just here. My book, Being Wildly Kind, is now out. If you want to get a signed copy, go to my website, click on shop, and I'll organise a signed copy for you. So there's that. Also, Here I Am, my online course for kids. If you want to sign up for that, again, go to my website, and that's really doing some amazing things and really connecting to a lot of families and kids. Let's meet our guest for today. Oh, don't forget. I've got to keep forgetting to do it almost. Hit like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. It's like, there's so many things I've got to do. So what's it like to grow up gay and Aboriginal? That's what this story is about, The Boy from the Mish. And it's written by Gary Lonsborough. Now, this book has been getting rave reviews, and I thought, I need to read this. And once I read it, I thought, I need to speak to Gary. And so I've just had an amazing chat with Gary. Everything about the book. I won't tell you, because you've got to watch the interview. Now, a little bit about Gary. He was awarded the Bega Valley Shire Council's Young Citizen of the Year Award. And in his final year of high school, he won the Patrick White Young Indigenous Writers Award, and he's since received a Copyright Agency First Nations Fellowship. This guy, talented, absolutely brilliant writing, great story, and I can't wait for you to meet him. So, pour wine, coffee, whatever it is, taking the dog for a swim, maybe the budgie for a bath, whatever it is. Let's get to know Gary Lonsborough. Gary Lonsborough, how are you going? Thank you for coming on my show.
Yeah, hi Josh. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Look, I have read this book, and I think I threatened that I might cry when I read it.
Right.
And look, I did actually shed a couple of tears or two. But let's talk about Boy from the Mish shortly. Now, you've just been at the Sydney Writers Festival. Now, you're on stage with Benjamin Law. What was that like?
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. I always get really nervous before I do these sort of events, and like Benjamin was just, he was so good at, just calming me down and putting me at ease. And he asked great questions. I actually somehow ended up with his notes afterwards, so I've got his notes.
It's a bit of an insight.
I don't know how it happened. I think he must have put them on the table and I accidentally picked them up or something. I'm not sure. But he asked great questions. He was, obviously he gave that great quote cover for the cover of the book. And, he was really enthusiastic about it. So it was easy to engage with him. And I
follow Benjamin on Twitter and stuff like that, and Twitter still, I don't know how to use Twitter, but I just see, and he just seems so smart. And then I listen to his podcast, and I go, and I saw you on stage with him on one of the photos I think you put up, and I go, that would be really interesting. But obviously, it was a great experience, and he made you feel comfortable and welcome.
Yeah, and obviously he is very smart, so his questions were really intelligent and. But he's also really funny. So,
well, I won't be giving you any intelligent questions in this interview. So,
it's fine. Take them as they come.
Yeah, good. I mean, my whole show is just like, let's just see where it goes. It's all, Now, I suppose we should, for my viewers, give people a bit of a thumbnail sketch of The Boy from the Mish. What is it about, Gary?
The Boy from the Mish is about a 17-year-old Aboriginal boy named Jackson, who's living in a small Aboriginal village on the south coast of New South Wales. He meets another Aboriginal boy named Thomas, and basically the story is about him falling in love and uh, taking those first steps to accepting his sexuality and really understanding his place in the world. And so the story is about him, accepting his sexuality and becoming comfortable with himself.
I was going to say, because you've got two really big themes there. You've got, a young person just accepting their sexuality as gay, which I know is from personal experience, is a huge thing to have to go through. But also being Aboriginal and gay, and that's one of the things that I don't think is often talked about, really, even in the gay community or in the Aboriginal community. Is what is it like? Is it? I know this might be a bit of a tricky question to kick off with. In the Aboriginal community, what is it? Are you to be accepted as gay? What is that? Is that a thing or is that not a thing?
Well, okay, my
I worded it badly, I know.
well, yeah, like my view of that was, as a teenager, was that the community wasn't going to accept me for my sexuality. That was very much the biggest fear, was losing those relationships, losing my place in that community. I think I've got family all up and down the south coast of New South Wales, and so my biggest fear was losing those relationships. When the time came, it was completely fine, and I think the community is far more accepting than some in the country. And that was really important to me to really try to articulate those fears Jackson was having, because those were the fears I was having, but to also show that positive or hopeful outcome that can be. That was my experience of it. That it was accepting, and while it was really, really scary and hard, it didn't have to be. It was all my worries were sort of for nothing in the end. It was very anticlimactic, but
But I think that's that is a really core essence of what that struggle is with that identity when you're young, and you're going, I don't want to be gay because I will lose that connection, I will lose the friendship, I'll lose the acceptance, I won't be part of a family or a community because they'll be rejected. And the rejection is that huge thing that I think that plays cross-culturally, but I'm sure in Indigenous communities, in Aboriginal communities, where the family unit is such a strong thing. I mean, I'll compare it to my own. I'm just dysfunctional white middle-class guy whose family is all splintered all around the world, and it's usually just me, and that's it. So it's not as worrisome, but that loss of community, I think, is the thing. But as the character Jackson was basically in your head, or you overplays that, and we awfulize over it, and then, as you said, it's really not as bad as what we think.
Yeah, it's like the family and the community is such a central part of the cultural identity. So it was more important for me to remain a part of that Aboriginal community, and to remain just to remain part of the culture. And so that's why it took me a long time to finally accept that I was okay as I was. Was because that connection was so important to me, and it still is today. It definitely was a struggle, and I know a lot of people aren't as lucky as I have been to have that really supportive, nonchalant reaction.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to be hopeful for Jackson in the story.
And I think that's what comes out in The Boy from the Mish is this underlying feeling of hope, which I think is great, because it's a lot of other books that may have gay themes or something like that, or there's this really awful, sinister, like a dread, like an impending doom happening. And sure, there's a bit of that in Boy from the Mish, but really at the core of it, what I took away from, it's a love story. Are you just an old romantic at heart, Gary?
That's the thing. I never ever considered myself to be a romantic person, but I found when I was writing this book that I did have a lot of, like, I really wanted those tender moments, and Jackson trying to organize this really romantic picnic, and
I know, that's what got
you
me. I
know,
loved it. Even trying to
yeah,
smuggle the wine out of his mum's cabinet and all
yeah,
that.
yeah, and like wondering if he should, like, because he's going on a date with a guy, if he'd want flowers or not. All those things. I just, I found during the writing that I really loved those little moments, and it was really cute and really tender, and but yeah, I've never considered myself to be romantic. I knew
So
once
you
the
haven't done
book
that
had sort
yourself? You haven't gone on a picnic romantic date?
of no, not in that sense. But it's not something that I've ever felt I wanted to do. I don't really like the whole the whole dating thing where you have to anyway, that's probably a conversation anyway.
For another day. But you struck, but you hit a point there though. It's you've normalized a relationship between two guys as just a normal, like you could basically swap one for a female or whatever, a normal heterosexual, and it's doing the same sort of thing. So it comes back down to the love and the intimacy. I think that's what really shines through. And it's like, and you get people on the outside who go, gay people can't have romantic relationships like that. But yeah, hello, that's mostly what it's all about. You fall in love with people. That's one of the big things,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and like the love story was that was the seed that I had that was the original idea, was just this love story, and it really is the central piece of the book, even though there's all these other things that happen around it. That love story was definitely the story that I wanted to tell from the beginning.
Because it's written from Jackson's point of view, but originally it was actually written from Thomas, the other main character. So why did it swap? What happened there?
Thomas was a very different character in the beginning. He was one of those visiting tourists. So it was very much a summer holiday romance kind of story.
Oh, so what's it? Oh, I'm a bad gay person. What's the musical? What's the thing with John Travolta and what's that one?
Grease.
Grease.
Yeah.
I only saw that when I was 30. I'm terrible.
That was pretty much it. It was Thomas traveling away, falling in love with this guy who he met while he was on holiday, and then having to leave. It just wasn't. I mean, I thought it was good at the time. By the time I started getting a couple of rejections come in, some of the advice in those rejections was that Thomas wasn't a very strong character. I think one suggested that Jackson might be a more interesting character. By the time those rejections started coming in, I started rethinking the story. I basically had to write all the way from scratch, from Jackson's point of view, and I found the story just burst with flavor. There were all these other elements that came in, and Jackson was a much more interesting character. But further to that, he was also it was also much easier for me to be open as a writer and to be vulnerable and put a lot of my own life and feelings and fears into Jackson. Whereas I didn't really do that with Thomas, because I think there was a bit of a distance between me and him in the writing process.
Was that a self-protection thing?
I think it might have been. Now that I look back on it, I know definitely writing originally it felt very sort of therapeutic. Try to figure out how I was feeling and why I was feeling this way when I was a teen. So I think the actual beginning of the writing was very therapeutic, and I do think in a way I was trying to protect myself from, while I had accepted who I was. I hadn't talked about being gay in a public forum or anything like that. And I definitely would never have considered.
Well, you've done it now.
That I'd be putting a book out that had my name on it and featured this gay teen love story. But yeah, like I'm very happy that we came to the to the manuscript that we got and the final version of the book.
So
And
do you think when you slipped into Jackson's character, you felt safer to put yourself on the page in a way, didn't you?
yeah, and it just made more sense. You know, we were a lot more similar than me and Thomas. But yeah, he very much, you know, as I was writing him into existence, he was helping me to unload all of this baggage I had.
You know what? You're
really analyze that
as you're talking. I'm sort of reminded of what Holden Shepherd talks about with Invisible Boys when he first started to write that, and he because he was writing about these internal things in him, and he was finally giving voice to them through characters, and that's where he hit his straps and just couldn't stop, and obviously the rest is history. So I'm feeling the same with Jackson's character. You were able to give yourself the voice. I mean, because I know that reading him and reading and listening to his internal monologue and his hopes and his fears and all the doubts, and I think every gay person has had those exact same thoughts at one point or another. And it's like this: I'm straight. Oh, what's a cute boy? I'm straight. Oh, that's a cute boy. It's this tension that we all have to go through, and I think you've put that on the page beautifully with Jackson's character, and obviously that was giving you your voice to get that out there, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and it was really important to me to try and articulate all those feelings as well as I could, because you know I didn't have a book like this when I was a teen. So I think it would have really helped me to pick up if I could have walked into my school library and picked up, you know, a book like The Boy from the Mist that featured an Aboriginal teen who was going through exactly what I was going through. So I really wanted to articulate it as accurately as I could, and really, just, you know, to make that connection with the reader by being really personal and, you know, just that was the hope I had.
So you've just done some school talks as part of the Sydney Writers Festival. How do you find talking to school kids about this? Because it's, you know, it's you that's in there hiding in amongst all these pages. You know, how do you feel?
Well, yeah, like growing up, there was definitely we never had any, you know, gay authors or gay people in general come and talk at the school or anything. Yeah, no role models. So it was really an interesting situation where I'm on stage with Jeremy Laughlin, who's also a gay writer, and we're talking about writing queer books with you know, with queer characters, and I found the kids when it comes to question time, they're all so much like there's a world away from how I was when I was a teen, how everyone around me was. They're so open to being accepting of everyone. They're really curious about finding out how they can be better, and like one of the highlights of that was a kid came up to ask a question. He started off the question by thanking me and Jeremy for writing books with queer protagonists, because he really loved that we can put that representation into young adult literature. And it's great. I'm definitely hopeful for the kids of the now. They're very open and accepting, and it was just great.
And you're right, because it's completely different, you know, back when I was in high school, which was almost 5,000 years ago. But I was chatting to I had a girl doing work experience about 3 years ago, and she was 15 at one of the local colleges around here. And I said to her, who gets bullied at school? Do gay kids still get bullied? And she goes, no, everyone's gay these days. You know, we've got a couple of lesbians, we've got a couple of this, and I'm going, really? And it was unfathomable how things change. But it's still, you know, I'm thinking it's a lot easier for kids these days, depending on where they are, depending on what school they go to and all that sort of stuff. There's got to put those sort of things on there. But, you know, as you're saying, back when you were in high school, you just had no no external way of looking at someone and going, there's my safe path. I can look at someone and go, I can see what they've done. I can do the same. And of course, one of the big things that I find is that a lot of gay people do have is this internal shame that they've put on themselves, that society puts on, that everything, and that is so hard to shake off. And I think kids now are in a better position to obviously not take on that shame in the first place. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think, I remember the first time I saw Stephen Oliver on TV doing black comedy. And I was like, oh, there's a gay Aboriginal guy on this comedy show and he's freaking hilarious. I remember back in, I must have been year nine.
I won't say that line he uses in that skit all the time, but
yeah,
this is a family show.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, I think the only, we didn't learn anything about homosexuality or anything that wasn't hetero when I was at school, and I only finished in 2013, so it's not even that long ago.
Oh, you're so young.
I remember. Yeah, sure. But I remember the only sort of exposure we had to anything that was remotely gay was, I felt like the teachers just sort of shoved us into the hall, and it felt like a real chore for them. And it was a late afternoon. We had to watch this video that I think Triple J made. It was like all of their gay stuff or their queer stuff. Just giving like a supportive message to any closeted gay kids that was watching the video. And I just remember like all these people saying these messages and just being in that crowd as a closeted gay kid and hearing people like laughing amongst each other and like making jokes about certain things that were said in the video. And that was the only exposure I had to anything that was remotely supportive of being a gay person.
So, and of course, and then I think you see from your friends around you that it's still not acceptable. They're still going to make fun of me and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think these days there's just so much, so much more representation in film and TV and like in books, and so there's so many more avenues to find those stories and see yourselves in those stories, I think. And yeah, people are just more accepting these days.
I suppose also being Aboriginal and gay, and as you said, the only role model you really saw was, I can't remember the name of the comedian you mentioned before, but I know him. How do you feel that you, I hate to say it, may become a role model yourself?
Well, this is all through high school. I was always getting these role model awards. And I hated them.
Fit then. There you go.
I never ever saw myself as a role model. All I was an older kid who didn't do stupid stuff regularly.
I like that.
That was my takeaway. But like in general, I was a pretty good student, I think. I'm happy to talk about things, and hopefully, if someone needs to hear the words I say, that they can hear it. But it's definitely not something I strive for or aspire to be. But if someone needs to look at me like a role model, I'm happy to take that if that'll help them. But yeah, it's not something that I've set out to be.
Do you find that that there are more gay Aboriginal kids out there that are just really scared to even think about coming out?
I think so, especially in the country. I think, because it's such a small, I guess, even the country towns are getting big these days, but it's still a small place and it's still a small community where everyone, chances are someone, everyone knows someone, or someone knows someone who knows you. So, there's not that there's not that privacy, secrets don't stay secret.
You can't just hide, can you?
Yeah, exactly. so yeah, you have kids who just aren't comfortable, like me, who move away and then they're able to take those steps. But yeah, like I'm not 100% sure about today. I think things are better than they were, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's not as hard as it used to be. Yeah,
But-
it's a tough one.
But I suppose it's places where things like your book has an effect that whether you see it or not, whether some kid picks it up in some long forgotten town out in the middle of nowhere and finds it and quietly reads it in their bedroom so no one sees them, and they suddenly feel better about themselves, and they feel
Yeah.
better about who they are and their place in the world.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a conversation we had sort of early on in the process of the cover design, whether we wanted to make the cover explicitly gay, having a pride flag or something like that. But yeah, I really wanted to shy away from that because there might be those kids like that who need to pick up a sort of a more ambiguous book, looking book, to be able to read it privately and go through that experience by themselves. And so yeah, I'm hoping like those are the readers I want to get to, is the ones who need it, and I'm hoping the book finds its way to them. I hope it'll help some kids. The original goal for me was to write the book that I wanted to read as a teen, and the book that I needed. So I like to think if I needed this book, then there are other kids out there that probably need it. And yeah, I think those readers.
I think they're going to find it. Now, how has your life changed since you released this book?
Well, look, it seems there's like an illusion. So that first month, February, it was hectic. I was doing, I did 3 TV appearances. I was doing all these radio interviews. I was going to places to talk. I was doing heaps of Zoom talks, and the emails were coming in every day about different things, and I really felt like I was my life had completely changed. After that all settled down a bit, I realized I'm still just me.
Yeah.
I'm still just hanging out in my apartment with my friends, and I'm still doing the same things I used to do. But now I've had this illusion again, because I've just done Sydney Writers Festival, where I had a pass, and I could go to the green room and hang out with these other writers, and just felt like I was on top of the world for those couple of days. I guess in those spaces, I really loved the energy of those spaces with the other writers, and just being around them, it was great. And so I
agree with you. Being in the like at a writers' festival or somewhere, being with fellow writers, and you can bounce off each other, you can get ideas and share energy, and eat the beautiful food in the green room, and have a few glasses of wine on the opening night. Look, it's a pretty great lifestyle.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not complaining at all, but look, I have to come home and I have to do my laundry, and
Yeah, I know.
Life comes back, and it's just like, just need to remember that you're still the same person. I like to think I haven't changed in any negative way. But yeah, no, I'm just enjoying it as it comes. I'm really excited that there's so much interest in the book, and I'm able to go around and talk about it.
And you know what, Gary? Change comes with the territory. You can't not be changed by what goes on with this. But as you're saying, it's a balance between keeping grounded, but also absorbing what you're doing, and going, well, this is a life that I could get quite used to in a way, because the life of a writer is pretty good. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like that I'm not working a normal job at the moment, that I don't fully enjoy. Yeah, I mean, that's the dream, I guess, is to be a full-time writer, and that's all I have to do that day is work on the writing, or work on the edits, or that's the ultimate dream. But yeah, well, I guess
now in your bio, and I've heard in a couple of interviews one of the things that people always ask you about is your musical taste. And do you regret mentioning that you're a Kylie Minogue fan in your bio?
No, not at all. They asked me on Studio 10 about Kylie, but it was always one of the first things people would know about me if they met me, was that I
Are you
was a
that big a
Kylie
fan?
Well, I'm not like an obsessed person, but I'm very open about it. Yeah, it was never something I felt I should hide or anything like that. Yeah, I'm very happy to be a Kylie fan, and I hope she sees this interview and decides to give me a call or something. Just say
Kylie,
thank you.
I'll have my people talk to Kylie's people and you know and go and look, hey Kylie, I think this guy called Gary wants to meet you. He's like #1 fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping that little spill on the TV would have helped, but it didn't. Yeah, it's yeah. No, I love Kylie. She's just always been my favorite since I was like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the first CD I made my dad buy me was the Kylie Minogue Ultimate. Was the Ultimate CD. It was around the time she was doing the Showgirl tour.
Yep.
It was just two CDs full of all of her music, all of her good songs. So,
I have that double CD as well. Okay.
Oh, good.
And I bought Out Years and I think another one. But I suppose when I was growing up, in the 80s when I was a teenager, I didn't like that early Minogue sound with the Stock Aitken and Waterman. Except I must admit, Better the Devil You Know was a really good song. That was really good. But it wasn't until she hit her straps and she got other writers and she started co-writing. And I think was it Some Kind of Bliss that was written by Manic Street Preachers? That's when I reckon she really hit her straps. And then she started going out with Michael Hutchence and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was that big change around. Well, yeah, the change for me comes around the Impossible Princess time.
Was that what year was that?
Oh, geez. Just some of my Kylie Minogue knowledge. I want to say 96,
mastermind.
97.
A mastermind, and your expert subject is Kylie Minogue.
You know, I lost. Me and my friends were doing trivia at the pub one night, and I lost us the $1,000 because I was 1 year off her age. That was one of the 3 big questions: was how old is Kylie Minogue? I think she was 47 at the time, and I said 46 or something. And yeah, so I don't have all the answers, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Gary, what are you doing? Are you writing a new book? What's going on?
Right now, I started writing another YA novel. I wrote about a chapter, and I just realized I needed to sit with the idea a bit longer. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Just trying to gather my thoughts around it.
Letting it.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of material there. I did write another manuscript, which is with my publisher right now. I think she's just begun reading it, so hopefully she'll like it.
It's nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yeah, that's that
long wait between send it and
yeah, and the time the time between doesn't help at all. It's just it adds to the fear. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit hopeful because I think I really like the main character of the manuscript. So hopefully,
can we have a hint of what it may be about, or is it? You don't have to tell me, but we could be giving it exclusive. You've heard it first, okay?
I will say it's sort of inspired by my time working with Aboriginal kids in the juvenile justice centres, and being in that environment. I took a lot of inspiration from that for this character. And yeah, I really like it. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Okay, fingers crossed for you, Gary. Now, one last question. I ask this of everyone: what lights you up? What gives you that?
What lights me up? Ooh, I don't know. I guess okay. There's like a little pond near where I live. Uh, I mean, I don't walk as often as I should, but when I go for a walk, I've usually got the AirPods in. Usually got Kylie on, and just walking just at sunset, and the golden light catches on the top of the pond, and the ducks are swimming. And I find that for some reason I've seen that so many times, and it always sort of inspires me. I feel like it, but that's what comes to mind when you ask the question.
Yeah. You know what? Whenever I ask that question, people's answers are usually it's the simplest thing that lights. It's nothing like, oh my god, winning an award or anything like that. It's little moments like
Right.
that. Those little stolen moments.
Yeah, it's just going for that walk and seeing the sun bounce off the top of the pond.
Yep, beautiful. Gary, where can people get in contact with you if they want to get your book, if they want to, send you fan mail or whatever? Where can they go?
So you can go to my website, which is garylonsborough.com.
I'll put it down there.
I'm also on Instagram, which is Gary Lonsborough. Twitter is G Lonsborough. And I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay, but they can get to all your socials
but
from your website.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty active on everything.
Okay.
So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Gary. I wish you every success.
No, thanks for having me.